Hello and welcome to the Permaculture Herbalism segment of the Elder Tree podcast. I am your host, Tennille Christensen from Earth Mama, where I teach people how to thrive and get skilled for sustainability. As an educator, kitchen witch, and plant lover, I welcome you to tune in as I interview permaculturalists from around the world. We will learn holistic ways of integrating plants into our homes, gardens, and communities for healing. Together, we will explore the art and science of this regenerative design system and harvest the collective wisdom. Permaculture offers a pathway to empower people to develop their lifestyles and landscapes. So let's discover how to grow and know plants with a purpose. Food security is a hot topic across the globe right now. And in particular, this episode is dedicated to the recent challenges that happened in Far North Queensland regarding the road closures for over 2 weeks with interrupted supply chains due to flooding. This unfortunately is relevant for many communities around Australia and the globe. And so this episode is a conversation with Angela Nasson from Tablelands to Tabletop, who is dedicated to providing fresh produce from farmers to consumers, meaning farmer to table. We talk about the challenges, we talk about the solutions, and there might be some mind-blowing information in here that can get you motivated to become a local food champion. The intention is to look into ways that we can create a resilient food network, not only for our region, but for all local communities. Listen in and feel free to contact us or leave a comment in the notes below. So thank you for joining me today, Angela. I'm really excited to share with our listeners your story on how you've been working for the past 6 or so years and how you got into that as well for localizing the food system up here in our Far North Queensland region. So I guess the first question is why, what has influenced you to become a local food advocate?
Okay, well, look, 100% it's always been about food security for our area because we have things that happen with its natural disaster, COVID, which kicked things off, and then there's a disruption in the current food system. So we grow the food here. We're a food bowl. So we have the food that's grown here for some reason. Logistics, whatever the major supermarkets want to call it, is all the food that's grown here gets sent down south, then gets put back on trucks, some of it, and gets sent back over here, travelled 2,000 to 4,000 kilometres. Then you have produce that is, upwards of 8 weeks old, sometimes can be longer, has lost that nutritional value. The quality has fallen dramatically. And, the farmers are paying for the price for it to be sent down south, and the consumer, at the end of the day, is paying for the transport back. So, look, it's a lot more expensive. I've recently travelled to Melbourne over the weekend and I've seen how cheap the food is there. We're paying the price here in Far North Queensland, unfortunately.
It's so crazy. We're growing, our farmers are growing it, and we're paying the price, and they are paying the price as well. It seems like the system's not working in terms of us having that resilience and capacity to have food all year round, especially when we have these floods that just happened and we've experienced road closures for a few weeks and empty supermarket shelves, and even places where people and local consumers would have thought they were getting local food from, like Rusty's markets. Mm-hmm. There are a few people there that do that, but it became quite evident that all the supermarket chains and much of Rusty's, our local food market, is actually importing locally grown food from, at the very least, Brisbane markets, if not it's gone further, and then it's coming back. So it's great that you've been working on this, and Tablelands to Tabletop has, really came through to support the community with food during this really difficult time. Mm-hmm. How is it, what happened six years ago that kind of got you on this path? What were you doing before that?
Well, before fruit and vegetables, I was doing jewelry. So I was making and selling jewelry at the local markets. COVID come along and wiped out our markets. We were no longer able to sell our products because it was taken away from us, that avenue, So then my dad, being a farmer, he had limes to move, and Brisbane markets weren't taking his limes due to restaurants and cafes, which were classed as non-essential businesses, closed their doors. So then this was a ripple effect on our farmers. Tablelands produce was then now falling to the floor, going to waste. And so my father turned to me, asking me to help move his limes. And so I just started selling on social media to my friends on Facebook. And so that's where it kicked all off. And then all of a sudden other farmers came on board and said, "Hey, look, we got avocados. You want to help us move them?" Because, of course, avocados is a lot on the cafes and restaurants as smashed avocado and toast, right? So their avocados were now dropping to the ground, not having a market to be sold to. And so I started moving my family's avocados as well. And then, again, a lot of other farmers jumped on board to see what I was doing, and that's basically how it took off.
Amazing. And so it was kind of accidental, but because you've grown up and you're living in Mariba and you've got family of farmers.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And then friends who are farmers.
Yeah, that's it.
You became very good at social media. So you've got these connections with the community. And then, so you're at Stratman Street in Mariba. You've got this great venue, which was originally a farmers co-op.
Yes,
there's
absolutely.
Coles everywhere. Like, this place was set up before, I guess, the Coles and Bullies, or
that's right.
Moles and Bullies, sometimes people call them.
That's it.
Came through, and so farmers used to sell direct to consumers from this place, and now all of a sudden you've taken on this legacy. Like, how did you source and find this place to be selling retail and wholesale to?
Well, look, that's the thing too. Like, I started off in the carport, and then all of a sudden outgrew the carport. So we started off 100% online, so we didn't have a shop front. People would put their orders in online. We would package them up in my carport, and then we would get it delivered. I used to do deliveries myself in the very beginning of the days. And then we got bigger, so I needed to find a space. And just so happened that my best friend's father owned this building that was now for rent. So that's how that all took off. And I didn't know until later on that this place used to be a produce hub. So we've gone back in time. We've gone back in time 30 to 40 years, where this place used to be the hub of all the farmers bringing the produce in here, and then it would be packaged and then put onto trucks and sent to cafes and restaurants and possibly even the big chains before they ditched these guys and went the other direction. It's really exciting that this place was used as a produce hub back in the day.
Amazing. And then, so now obviously you're, trying to keep up with demand, because a lot of people have learnt a hard lesson in this whole process. And I guess it happens every year, right? Mm-hmm. But it happens for a couple of days to a week. This time there was that longevity. It was a few weeks, and people were seeing those visuals of many, many trucks lining the roads. And I heard stories of mothers in Cairns driving from one shopping centre to the next with a car full of kids, hungry, not being able to access food, and getting to these supermarkets and all they could get was bananas. Yeah. And it became that's a scary thought, to think that you can't even feed. Like, I personally grow a lot of food.
Yeah, that's right.
There's community gardens. During this process, we had so much food, we were giving food away. And so it's not that there's a issue with producing food in our region. We're actually a food bowl. Mm-hmm. It's the logistics systems. And I see that you're doing an amazing job at and it's a big job. If it would be great if you could share with our listeners, what happens in your week or your day, like the daily runnings of being basically the sole organization in our community at the moment that's really working direct with the farmers to provide local food to consumers. What does that look like?
Look, its logistics is absolutely insane to be able to feed. I think we're feeding 1,000 a week at the moment. We did feed, it was probably about 5,000 to 6,000 people within those couple of week period where they couldn't get food. So that scaled up huge. Now, look, there is a process. The fruit and vegetables doesn't just magically appear on a supermarket shelf. So, there's a process that happens. The produce has to be grown first, right? And we can't grow some things on the tablelands. So there is there's some produce like apples and pears that just does not grow on the tablelands. So people found that the supermarkets did not have apples and pears on the supermarket because it is grown down south. Now, when we're talking about local food grown here on the tablelands, we have plenty of that, so it's a matter of education too on what actually gets grown on the tablelands and what season. Like our vegetable season doesn't start until July, so we have a seasonal calendar as well of what is available all year round.
That's a great resource. So listeners will be able to download that in the show notes. Angela's helped put together a seasonal, like what the 4 different seasons throughout the year and what's available. That, there's so much incredible local produce.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And look, again, education. Some people want to eat tomatoes 365 days of the year. Okay. So when we first started out, we just 100% local, right? But then our customers would come to us, buy the local, but they still wanted the apples and pears. So we decided, okay, right, we will bring in the apples and pears because we want you shopping with us and we want you to be a one-stop place to come to get everything that you needed. So, and the other aspect of it is the prices, right? So if you're going to eat local tomatoes in May, June, July, all the way to December, you're going to pay about $4.50 a kilo for local tomatoes. However, on the off season, we're purchasing local tomatoes a bit further down Queensland, and you're going to be paying $9 a kilo if you're going to be eating out of season produce. So some people, they question, why am I paying $9 a kilo? Is because you've had to pay for the transport of those tomatoes to come to us because our local tomatoes don't come until our winter season, right? So that's the other tricky part of it is trying to educate people. If you're going to eat seasonal local produce, it's going to be a lot cheaper for you. But if you're going to want to eat produce that's out of season, that's fine. We will provide it. However, it's going to be a little bit more costly, and that's the reason behind it.
It is. And it's more costly because you're not making the money on it. It's the transport cost that's being embedded in it. But it's also the cost of the same conversation of our local food going to Brisbane further and then back up here. It's losing its nutritional value. So as a consumer, it is our responsibility to actually build food provenance within our communities by eating what is actually in season.
Absolutely.
And then the cost is we have more nutritious, healthier food, and we're not expecting to eat something that is grown in other regions it's not within our climate.
That's it. Look, we've been completely spoilt with having everything at the supermarket at your hand, right? It's all a part of just trying your best to work around that if you can. Oranges, for instance, come into season wintertime, right? So what do we need in winter?
Vitamin C.
Vitamin C, exactly. So that's why we need to eat what's in local, what's in season, and your body actually craves and needs those certain nutrients around those certain times of the year. So, yeah.
We're not doing ourselves any favors by trying to eat food that is not actually seasonal. And that's part of our responsibility as well of trying new things and expanding our culinary repertoire. And, I love getting a box of food and it's like, okay, there's a beautiful locally grown pumpkin. I'm going to make pumpkin scones and pumpkin soup this week and looking at what is available, what am I accessing out of my garden, and how can I build a meal around that, as opposed to this mentality of getting a recipe and having everything at our disposal to be able to eat food out of season just because the recipe says to use that. But there's like all of the tropical greens. I know that you're building a garden out there.
Yes, that's
here,
right.
and you sell tropical greens in here. You've got plants and things there. That's another consumer responsibility to try as well.
That's right. Look, and I get it too. I'm a farmer's daughter. I was raised this way, okay? But not everyone is, So, and during COVID too, what was really, really exciting is that everyone started growing vegetable gardens, and like that was wonderful. And look, some of us, I live on an 800 square meter block, so I can only grow a certain amount of things. So the thing is, if you don't have to grow everything, like you can grow. If you eat basil, why not give basil a try? Just throw that in a pot. You don't have to have even it planted in the ground. But within our little 800 square meter space, we're growing bananas, strawberries, ginger, pineapples, all the herbs you can think of. My Malabar spinach, right? So the Malabar spinach, which is wonderful because spinach is the highest nutritional value when it comes to a vegetable. It's got pretty much everything in there. And you can eat it 1,000 different ways, whether you're having it as a smoothie, whether you're putting it into salads. And, when the supermarkets didn't have lettuce on the shelf, I had my spinach ready at hand, ready to go. And spinach doesn't need a huge amount of area to grow either. It's a climbing spinach. So if you literally have a 2-meter space to be able to grow spinach on a trellis, that's one thing. And that's like I said, one of the most super vegetables you could possibly eat.
And it grows like a weed at this time.
Grows like a weed. It is a tropical plant.
Yeah.
It can be grown in our environments wonderfully almost all year round. Winter kind of drops off a little bit. But other than that, it loves the heat. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm glad that you mentioned celery spinach, because that's one of the plants that is growing wild at our place, and we've been eating heaps of and giving away to people when everyone's freaking out. And these are important nutrients that people are missing out on when they don't have access to. But if you think about it, okay, you can get baby spinach in a plastic container, like wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
That's traveled how far? That's probably been sprayed. Or you can walk out to your back door, or turn up to a local shop like yours, where it's been picked direct from the farm and it's only a day or two old.
Absolutely. We pick our spinach that morning that you get it, right? So like so fresh. A lot of people haven't experienced lettuce that actually weeps that white.
Yeah, the actual lettuce
medicine, because most of the lettuce, it's a week or two before could be older, who knows? But, the nutritional value has certainly fallen. But yeah, it's just, again, education and what you can manage yourself, because like I said, not everyone is a farmer's daughter. Not everyone has grown up this way, but there's definitely certain things that you can do to help yourself.
For sure. So there's you're providing local food to consumers, but let's bring it back to the farmers, because they're so important and quite often forgotten. So why is working with farmers in the localizing of food story, why is that important to you?
Well, look, firstly, they're my family, majority of them. My family, my friends that I've grown up with for a long time, our farming community, especially, we are on a food bowl. So most of my friends I went to school with, their families all farmers as well, So it's community, and it's the way I was raised, and I've watched it from ground roots. I used to see my father absolutely break down when a storm has wiped off his crop, because there's no backup plan, right? So if the crop's destroyed, or if the market suddenly says, no, we've got too many avocados, we can't buy you avocados this week. It's honestly what they go through. What my uncle explains basically is they're gamblers. Farmers are gamblers. They don't have a backup plan. Some of them might work as electricians, and they have part farmers, or most of them are just 100% solely reliant on their crops and their yields. And if the weather event destroys their crops, then basically it's a really hard situation to be in and to watch. So from that aspect, watching that all my life, my heart is all about watching what happens. And the thing is too, the farmers are price takers, right? When it comes to being involved in the major supermarket chains, the supermarket chains or the markets, their agents say, look, this is what price we're going to be prepared to pay for you this week. So right now, as we stand, this week it's 50 cents a kilo for Seconds limes, right? So when you talk about 50 cents a kilo for Seconds limes, it's 10 kilo boxes of limes. That works out to be $5. Okay, so we're prepared to, this is the major supermarket saying we're only prepared to pay you $5 for 10 kilos worth of limes. Okay, so that box that the limes go into, that costs $4 for that box, right? And then also they have wages to pay, because not all farmers can go out and do the work themselves. They actually have to have either contractors or employees picking this produce. So you've completely just said that you're not going to get paid, basically, or you'll have to pay us to pick the limes that you have, because it's so far down the red. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just not financially viable for them to pick limes that week, right? Okay, so that there's no set price. You go get an Apple Samsung phone, okay? The consumer is told Apple puts the price on the Samsung phone, right? Apple. They've set their price. The business has said, okay, like for us to manufacture a phone, to pay our employees, to pay all of this, that phone, we're going to sell it now for $1,000, because why would you do it if you then Coles says to you, no, sorry, we're going to pay $500 for that phone. And Apple's like, well, it actually cost us this amount, and this is what the price is, what we've got to pay for that. That just doesn't happen. It only happens to farmers, right? So all the other businesses out there set their prices, except for farmers. Farmers are told what price they're going to get for their produce, which is absolutely ridiculous. There should be a set price. It should be, this is how much it costs us to produce these limes. We need $2.50 a kilo to be financially viable to sell our limes. And that's where it should be standing from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
is that what you're doing in this model of?
Yes, 100%. We do not, we ask our farmers to name their price. We don't set prices.
Yeah.
There is a market price that they send out a report every week of what these farmers are going to get paid. So a lot of our farmers are used to doing that. So they say, well, the market's paying around about this. But I say to them, what do you need right now to be able to sell me so that you're okay? They set their prices, right? On the other hand, not very often, sometimes. For instance, about 6 months ago, limes were $10 a kilo. The market was paying. So like, I feel when the farmers say, well, we're getting $10 a kilo right now, and I'm kind of like, ooh, like my customers are used to paying like a set price. So most of my farmers sit with one price all year round. Amazing. For us in the shop. Yep. That means that our consumers know that where they stand, we don't tend to go up and down too much on price. So. Yep.
And then the farmer has consistency all year
round.
Farmer
has consistency all year round. I'm not going to, I don't hop farms, okay?
Yeah.
So I have my lime farmer who which is my family.
Yeah.
They are prioritized.
Yes.
Then I have my lemon farmer who I've had for, right from the beginning. I've got my pawpaw grower. I've got my tomato. So I don't go to another tomato farmer just because they might be selling tomatoes cheaper that week. That doesn't happen. We're very faithful to our farmers. They've been with us.
Yeah.
They know us. They understand us. We're like a community unit, right?
And it's a two-way commitment, isn't it?
Yes.
They're going to continue supplying to you. And as you saw with
That's it.
Recently happened, you were able just to get in the truck and just continue to pick up as much food as you could possibly
that's right.
pack and get out to consumers, because you have built those strong relationships.
That's right. We've got probably up to 200 farmers. And also, you know, we do all our jar packet goods and everything too.
So jams and coffee, local coffee, teas,
honey. We've got eggs, and we've got a whole heap of other things too. So our network is strong. And when I say to you, I've had my same lemon farmer from the very beginning. Occasionally, probably like 4 weeks of the year, they can't provide us with lemons, maybe because they've trimmed their trees. Yep. I have another lemon farmer on standby. And, you know, that lemon farmer has called me and said, hey, I got lemons here. And I say, look, I'm so terribly sorry. I've already got a lemon farmer on me, but I'm going to save your details. And if we are short lemons, I'm going to give you a phone call. And I do. I call them when we're short on lemons, and they will provide. And you know what? Our farmers who I say that to, they're like, wow, this place does business a little bit differently, and we totally respect that. Okay, you have a lemon farmer, but yes, please give us a phone call if you need more lemons, and we will provide you with lemons. Right.
So you have your primary and your secondary suppliers.
That's right.
That comradeship and those strong relationships. So I guess we've discussed like some of the tricky, challenging parts, but really important conversation to have around fair agreements and looking after the farmers, and a system change, really, like a new model for making sure that there is a price that keeps them farming and keeps them not so much gambling, so that they can be that really primary like the farmers are growing our food.
Absolutely.
That's just like basics. Right. Like, why are they getting paid less than any doctor or nurse or teacher or
absolutely
anybody?
Look, and it's all the monopoly, right? Okay, so no word about it. The supermarket chains have the monopoly. So I just want to touch on the dairy industry, what happened there, right? Okay, because this is what's happening to our fruit and vegetable industry. And now we're educated about what's happened with the dairy industry. We can now make sure that's not going to happen to our fruit and vegetable farmers. So they brought in a set $1 a litre milk, right? Yep. Okay, so they set that in stone. We're only going to pay $1 a litre milk. That killed off thousands of dairy farmers here on the Tablelands, right? Absolutely sad thing, and absolutely destroyed the dairy industry, and we want to make sure that's not going to happen with the fruit and vegetable. But again, that's the monopoly, and that's the plan of the major supermarkets, is literally to kill off all the little guys. And that's not conspiracy. That is true. That's happened. Happening. That's happened to the dairy industry. Yeah. The seafood industry was threatened like that just a couple of years ago, but the seafood guys, they was like, no, we've seen what happened to their dairy industry. We are not going to allow that happen to our seafood industry. And now we too are aware about it with the fruit and vegetable industry. We do not want to see that happen with the fruit and vegetables. But again, sadly, when they say that we can only pay you $5 for a 10-kilo box of limes, and again, if our farmers are participating in that system, unfortunately, they've tied themselves to those systems, and I understand it. They want to sell all their produce to Coles, Woolies, if they're really big Joes and they want to have a go of it. But unfortunately, if you are part of that system, that's
not working out.
It's not going to work for a lot of you guys. And the thing is, big semi-trailers of bananas is sent down to the Brisbane markets, and then all of a sudden they've said, look, no, these bananas are not of the best quality, what we expected. They can literally dump that whole trailer of bananas and then also send the bill to the farm to say you are going to pay for disposal of all those bananas. And this happens a lot. Not only that too, agents can go under, and it's happened time and time again. We've got loads and loads of agents that have gone under, and millions and millions and millions of dollars lost to our Tablelands farmers because these agents have folded.
Can you explain what an agent is? A lot of people might not understand that.
Sure. So Brisbane markets are made up with agents. There's several companies in there that have their little sections, kind of like a market store, right? But in a very big scale. Wholesale large scale. Okay. So these agents are set up at the Brisbane markets. They find growers to fill their supermarkets, their wholesale market with, which, cafes and restaurants will buy from these agents directly to fill their their cafes and restaurants. And then, so these agents are paid a commission on sales, right? So I think it's around about 6% commission that they get paid. And the agents too, they set the prices of what these farmers are going to be paid for the produce. Another thing that happened to us personally about 2 years ago, my father put in a crop of corn. My husband and I decided to help him with that crop. We picked all the corn. I was selling the corn here at Tablelands to Tabletop, but then also because our family sends produce down to the Brisbane markets, right? We were told that we're going to get $45 for a box of corn, right? And we're like, yes, $45 box of corn. We can do that. I was selling boxes of corn here at Tablelands to Tabletop at $45 a box. But look, I was selling about 10 boxes, maybe 20 boxes a week, whereas we could send 100 to 200 boxes of corn down to the Brisbane market. So that's more attractive for us. Easy, right?
Yep.
Load it all up on 2 pallets, send it back down. The problem was that next week our prices come back and we actually, in fact, got $20 for a box of corn because the prices changed by the time that corn got down to the market. So then I was like, okay, so now I'm at a huge financial loss. I could have, in fact, moved that produce locally here on the Tablelands.
Yeah.
But I chose the easiest option of sending the whole 2 pallets down to the Brisbane markets, done, dusted, then it failed.
And so there's no commitment, is there, if they're saying, like, what's holding them to their word? It's a completely untrustworthy system.
Well, look, they send out a form for you to sign on the price that's agreed upon, but then for some reason it changes still, and you're kind of like, well,
there's a fine print that
we
says,
agreed, but that was over the phone. We agreed on this price, right? And then all of a sudden we're getting this price, and it's basically take it or leave it, right? We've already sent the load down.
Can't get it back. You got to pay for it to get it back.
Pay for it to get it back, and then you've lost 2 weeks and the produce is now deteriorated and gone to waste. So, like, this happens more than you would know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the thing is, our farmers, they zip their lips. They don't complain because they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them, that actually did not feed them that time.
Yeah.
But
hoping next
time it's going to be different, right? Because they are tied to these markets. They are tied to this system and they don't want to upset the system. A lot of farmers don't like me talking about this because they think it can jeopardize selling to this system, right? But things need to change.
They do. It needs a whole upheaval, really. So I guess on the conversation of change, what's your plans for the next 5 years? Like, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you create within your capacity? Like, where do you see Tablelands Tabletop going?
Okay, so look, it's been a long road and I've done 10 different ways, 8 of them have all failed and 2 of them have stuck, so my way of thinking is that we need champions in our communities to run our food systems, okay? So I'm here in Mariba running a food system that works, right? We've got loads of people in other towns like Ravenshoe, for instance. I have Rin's in Ravenshoe. She has Natural Living & Co. She's a food champion on her doorstep in her community, getting local grown produce in her area. That's what needs to work. We need to have local people who are community members and interested on doing a secure food system for the area. Yes, Tabletop could pop up in several different locations, but look, it's exhausting, it's expensive, it's tiring. I just hope that we do have those people in those communities to pop up and do something about their local areas. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm envisioning, is that we have
more people like you.
More people like me. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know. The thing is, we could pop up in several, like we're looking at a Cairns base, right? Because a lot of our customers are based in Cairns. Until we have that up and running, like there's more expenses, there's more time. There's only one of me. I now have 5 new staff members taking a lot of work off me. So look, it's a workload that's absolutely massive. It's taken me, this is our 6th year now, and what it's taken from me to get to where I am right now, I still feel that I'm like not even 1% of where I want to be in the future. I would really love to, have more of our local food in our local area. I would love to see that happen, whether Coles and Woolworths and all those major chains come to us. I don't know. Does that upset the agents in the Brisbane markets? Yes, it bloody well would, wouldn't it? Right? So it's a whole system and a whole logistical system that's happened for decades now. And we're going to, upset people because we want to change the way things are happening to work, to do better for our community? Or do we not upset people and just keep rowing the same boat and go and having our Far North Queenslanders paying double
for worth of quality
produce? Yeah. I mean, I was at the Melbourne markets over the weekend. So I went to the Queen Victoria market. I walked around and I'm like, $1.99 for capsicums. Wow. $1.99 for capsicums. I'm selling capsicums in here, which are out of season, by the way, right now for $13 a kilo, because I'm paying $12 a kilo for capsicums.
For it to get sent
here. Right? So I'm making $1. Well, I'm not even making $1. I don't make any profit when it comes to those sorts of things. Southern food.
It's just a service
it's
to
just an extra service. Just like eggs, just like honey. A lot of our products on the shop is not profitable whatsoever, but our other items are, so it's very, very interesting to see how cheap. And I don't know. I don't know too much about Melbourne. Maybe there's a huge, I guess they'd grow a lot of vegetables that way because it is cooler climate. So they're probably getting masses of produce direct from farmers, maybe huge, big enterprises, because they are growing so much, they can sell at a relatively cheap price. You've got a small producer that needs to cover wages and boxes and all of that. So they have a particular price that they need to be able to sell too. So,
or they're selling produce that has ripped off the farmer.
Possibly.
Most likely.
What if that load that they said that was rejected, they've taken that and they've on-sold that? Like that's the questions that a lot of these farmers are asking, because
they don't see it
They don't see it. Well, they're going to book a plane flight to go down to have a look at the produce, and, the thing is, it happens so quickly. Sorry, this load is unavailable. What's that truck going to sit there for the weekend for you to come down and inspect that truck? No, that truck now has to go to a waste disposal place, well, a parent waste disposable place to unload, and we're talking like, I think my cousin had about $60,000 worth of avocados, and just poof, gone, disposed of.
Wow.
Never seen a cent from that, and just had to do something else.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you are, would you consider buying us a cuppa? All of the work that we put into providing this podcast, that is 4 episodes on each of the moon phases per month, is done from a place of dedication and love and free to the community. So if you click on the show notes below for Buy Me a Cuppa, you can see how easy it is to drop us maybe $5 or more to help us continue doing this work.
So we just had a beautiful interruption to the podcast, which I would welcome every day, which is one of your customers just walking in with a beautiful bunch of flowers.
Yeah, look, honestly, like I say, this is a community. So it's not your regular supermarket. We have a connection with a lot of our customers, and Mia has been shopping with us for a long time now. So her mum and brother also come in here to buy produce every single week. They travel from Coranda, and just bought me a beautiful bunch of flowers, and absolutely special, made my day, and just a thank you for being here for them, and that's the thing. It's we are a community. We're not just a shop.
Yeah, it's a beautiful acknowledgement for her to she grew the flowers, and then, just to see that, the last few weeks have been a really full on time with scaling the business and just taking on so many new customers and doing
3 weeks solid. I didn't have a single day off in 3 weeks, and absolute epic. And, I did work those really crazy hours at the very beginning, but, it eased off. We were so busy at the start when we began through COVID, right? So we had, I think our busiest week was like 450 orders, absolutely insane. Had to have 4 drivers on the road. We used to have our own driver with our truck on the road. And then after about 2.5 years, things changed. I think people went back to the supermarket, whether it become too expensive for them, maybe. Living costs have gone completely up. I think a lot of people had purely said, look, they just can't afford the service because, look, we are a lot cheaper than the supermarket. However, when you compare to some other local markets, they might be a little bit cheaper. There is a delivery fee involved, in purchasing the produce, which is $13.50, whether that adds to the cost of making it not financially viable for some of these families. So it gets a little bit tricky. We scaled right down from a crew of 12 back down to a team of 3, 4. And then obviously now we've gotten busy again with the next event. So that's right. We've started off COVID times, busy. And then people kind of return to the old ways, right? And then now this has happened again. We're busy. And it's kind of like we had 200 website orders 3 weeks ago. Last week was 160 orders. And then now this week is 80 orders. So look, people are returning back to their old ways. And it's evident in the amounts of people who've come and gone from this shop, right? So look, we do have a lot of returning customers. We have a lot of people who have been with us. We wouldn't have our doors open if people didn't walk in here every single week. It's just how the consumer works. Is they couldn't get it at the supermarket, so they came to us, right? And now that the supermarket has it back on their shelves again, they've now returned to the supermarket. In saying that, we've still got a lot of people who come back to us. So we're very, very thankful for that. A lot of them didn't know we existed, and now they've found out that we're here and they're making that conscious effort of coming to us first. Again, majority, we are cheaper than the supermarket. If you walk in this door, that is too, right? So we have a shop front where people can come in and shop with us, which is a little bit cheaper than buying from our website. So look, it's logistics, it's costs. With the website, we have staff here that we pay to pack your boxes. The boxes cost $4 each. The delivery fee is a direct cost with a freight company, $13.50 for one box. 2 boxes, it's an extra $5. And then again, those boxes cost $4 each, so that's the service that you're paying for. If you would like a door service, that's the relevant to what we have to charge to get that produce to your door. If you would like to walk into our shop, it's going to be a little bit cheaper for you, right? So it's all relative. Price is all relative. It's what it costs us to actually provide the service for you.
Which is an amazing service. I think, I get a box delivered and it's coming on this Monday, delivered to my door on a Monday for $13.50. I work from home, so I don't have to get into the car and drive. That truck is already coming. I'm putting some little notes in my neighbors' letterboxes to encourage them to also do the same. And then the truck is coming and it's delivering multiple boxes at the very same time. I think $13.50, we need to reframe the conversation. I'm happy to pay for that convenience. As a busy person, whether even if you're a stay-at-home mum, you're still busy. But not to have to get into the car to
loading the children into the car. Oh my golly, I've got 3 children of my own, and that can be quite the task. I'd leave the shopping until late at night. I'd get on the website. I'd put my website order in, and you know what? That's exactly what we offer. I'm a mum. I know how busy things are. I know how processes work. So having a website of ours that you can just go to and shop online, and then poof, it ends up at your doorstep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's something that we're really proud to offer.
So what advice would you give to foodies that are interested in the best fresh food?
Well, look, my advice is to just give us a go, okay? Look, it suits a lot of people, doesn't suit some people, but hey, you don't know until you've given it a try. And look, you're going to get a fresher produce, no word of a lie. It literally gets picked only probably 3 or 4 days before you get this product. So when you're talking about comparing to supermarkets, you know, you're getting like nearly something that can be 8 weeks old at times, you know, so you are paying for that freshness. And look, you don't need to throw it away. Like the thing is, the produce lasts like 4 weeks stored in your fridge because it is fresh. Unlike supermarket produce, you pretty much nearly got to eat it the moment it comes into your house before it deteriorates. Right? Yeah.
That's true. And so you've got the quality, like the freshness, but then there's that feel good about contributing to making sure the farmer is getting paid properly and supporting a local business. You know, it's like when there's all these different layers to just this one act of decision making around our food choices. And I find it actually really sad that you know, so many people, like 200 people plus, were relying on you to feed them, relying on your service and the farmers to feed them in this time of crisis. And then already people are dropping back and going to these old ways. And it's like, we vote with our fork. If you continue to put money into these systems out of convenience without making a little bit of extra effort to source your local produce at the very least from local people, then you're part of the problem.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Look, and, you know, like we understand, we get it. That's why that system works, is because it's convenient. You walk into the one place, you get absolutely everything at your fingertips, right? And we understand.
When the trucks can get here.
When the trucks can get here. Look, we've tried to make it as easy as possible for you to shop around too. Like, we are here in town. It takes literally, what are we? We're not even a kilometre away from our nearest major chain. A lot of people come into us first, see what they can get from us, and then they'll head over to the other place to get what they need to finish that off.
Other packet stuff or whatever.
That's all the packet stuff, the inside aisle stuff, right? We're trying to get more into our shop so we can make it more worth your while to get more of your staples that maybe, you know what, it might even turn out that you go, do I really need that other stuff at the supermarket? You know, and that's what I've always tried to encourage. Like 40, 50 years ago, you know what was on offer?
Fresh
Not
produce.
a bloody lot, right? So we've been completely spoilt and thrown into this system of convenience, you know. Let's take it back a little bit and just, you know, like our family, for instance, we eat fruit, vegetables, we'll have milk, yogurt, cheese, like just staples basically. We live like back in 1920s in our household, and, you know, I love cooking. My husband loves cooking. My children loves cooking. So there's a difference there too. Like, we are a household full of cooks. We understand people work long hours. They want to get home. They want to throw, you know, a 5-minute pizza in the oven. And, you know, we do that too. You know, we do that too. We probably about 80% of the time we're cooking beautiful, nutritious food, and we get frozen vegetables as well. I have a fruit and vegetable shop, and I do have frozen vegetables. My husband loves to scrap out the freezer and throw into a stew, you know. Like, I get it. It's convenience. We do it too, but we try our best to do as much as we possibly can with the fruit and vegetables that we have here at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming to your shop over time, I see, like, I love getting your frozen local blueberries. You've got Emerald Creek Ice Creamery, you've got local coffee, local tea, local preserves, spicy local curry kits.
Yep.
Like, the list just goes on, and
That's
every
right.
time now you've got local made dog food.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
there's locally made soap. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
right. Cheese, Gallows cheese.
that's
You know,
all.
we'll
Yeah,
have
the
Mungali
dairy.
Creek Dairy in here soon. You know, like,
Great.
look, the thing is, we're a small operation. We're small and we're self-funded too, right? So we grow to as many people walk in the door here as much as we sell. We put away a small portion to grow,
Yeah.
right? So the more people that come in here, the further we can grow, the more we can offer our community. But we're reliant on our customers to be able to help us move forward, right?
For sure. And then that conversation you brought up before around more local food champions, like as a consumer, you can be a local food champion just by making that decision of supporting local businesses like yourself. But then there's this capacity for people, like you've got people in Ravensthorpe. I know there's an amazing woman down in Silkwood who's trying to get local food to her community.
Yep. Sandy B, amazing human being. She has understood what's failing in her area, and that's the thing. We're reliant on these magical food champions to do something on their doorstep.
Yeah,
right.
And so you could be a local food champion too if you feel like like a node within the area that you live within, your friends and family. You could be having wholesale. You could be buying wholesale direct from the website of
I'm
local
glad you've
produce.
mentioned that, Tennille, because that's the thing. You can help yourself, right? If there's something that's missing, something that's not working for you, and you want to step up and sort that situation out, you know, a lot of families order boxes, wholesale boxes, and they divvy them all up and, you know, and share them out to all the family, and everyone just goes in. Like, just imagine you get $400 worth of produce, which is quite a lot when you're talking wholesale, and you divvy it all up to your family members, and everyone ends up paying $40 each.
Yeah.
You know, like that is very, very affordable. But again, we need those champions to step up to the plate to do this, because it is within the community what you need to do, what you need to organise, if you have the time to do it too, right?
Oh, yep.
You know, and if you think that this is something that's really important for your area, then all it takes is one person.
So I send that invitation. You can contact us through this podcast. All the details are in the show notes, and have that conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we could get local produce delivered to you, where you can set up a node and be selling it retail, or even just sharing the wholesale costs within your little community of friends and family. It's such a possibility, and is going to continue to support and get more of our local food champions on board.
Absolutely. We grow together.
We grow together. That's right. Okay, so we've talked through some of the challenges that you've had, the farmers' challenges. We've talked about what consumers have really been challenged by with the floods. That is probably most likely going to happen every year with cyclones. Like, there's always a climatic disruption in our area. I guess it's like people are shocked when we have this conversation where they go, "Oh, what? Our food is going south." Like, it's an eye-opening conversation to have, and there's not an easy solution. But there are pathways, and you're one of them. Just literally turn up to the local people selling local produce, help them grow, help those farmers, and then obviously you have the nutritional support and the awesome feel goods. But beyond that, it's a big system change. And so the only way to really, we can't change the big system. Like, that's policy, that's
Absolutely.
whether, you know, it's beyond our control.
You know what, Tennille, I am going to interrupt you there because at the end of the day, the consumer decides.
Yes.
Right? You as a consumer hold all the power, right? You're going to be the one that makes the change, and we will support you in that change. That's all we can do. Like you said, we can't change policies because these policies have been created by multi-billionaires to work for them, right? The consumer decides. If you stop walking into this system, that system now crumbles and you've turned around. Again, look, what percentage of people does it take to break these systems? You know what? I think it's a good 20 to 30% of people, then it's going to start coming down. But again, will this happen? I don't know. It's my dream. But the consumer decides. If you keep walking into the system, if you buy that Chinese garlic off the supermarket shelf, that tells the supermarket that, yes, it's okay, we can import garlic from China. But if it's sat on the shelf gone rotten, then the supermarket's not going to put that on the shelf, are they? Because then it's a financial loss to them, but because you have told them that.
Yep. It's a big thing. You look at, like, just even recently, they had those mangoes from Mexico.
Yep.
And it's like, we just went to the local Koa markets on the weekend and got all these beautiful grown mangoes from
dragon
Herba.
fruit from Indonesia. Yeah, they wanted to import limes from Mexico, and we have the biggest lime farms here on the Tablelands.
What's that going to do to farmers?
Look, you know, again, it's all politics. They try to keep other countries happy, but then it's at the detriment of our Australian farmers. So, you know, there's got to be better ways to do business within our country.
There is.
And, you know, our Australian farmers, look, we do export 2/3 of what's grown here. So we are exporting to other countries. That's another conversation entirely. That would take up another 3 hours of my thoughts on that matter. But, you know, these farmers are growing volumes, you know, and that's what it is for them. They're trying to grow more to try and get those profits, right? Because there's a small farmer who's selling directly to local market that, you know, plodding along, getting by. Then you have that middle farmer that's trying to grow, doesn't quite have enough to sustain the supermarkets, but, you know, is struggling because they're growing but not enough to meet all the costs involved to growing that scale. Then you have those massive enterprise farmers that are literally just buying farms up left, right and center, putting on, and again, bringing in overseas workers to get those crops, because it's sad to say that needs to happen, because how's the produce going to get picked, you know, if you don't bring in the workers? And then, you know, these big, massive enterprises are starting to wipe out the little guys, right? Because they're growing to a massive scale. They can sell it at a bit better rate, well, nearly a lot better rate than these little guys, you know, and then that's killing off the smaller guys. So it's a massive, massive battle.
It is.
In the farming industry, and a huge concern too, because what happens if all these little farmers are wiped out and it's just those big enterprises working? Then they got the monopoly, right? So the dairy industry, let's get back to that. After the dairy industry has collapsed here, and it's just massive big enterprises now providing the milk. Milk used to be $1 a litre. What is it now? Sitting at $4 a litre, I think it is, or
I don't know.
Depending.
I pay $6 to $7 a litre to support the local
Mangali.
I'm happy to put extra money into the food system to support the local people, and I guess that's what we're asking of local food champions. And I loved what you brought up and how you said we do as consumers, we have the power.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't buy it, they're not going to bring it in.
Yeah.
You know, and if they have a drop in 20% in sales, that's massive for them, because if we can get 20% of our population turning away from those massive big systems that are crippling our farmers.
And supporting the small scale families.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because what happens within our communities? You know, farmers, they're here, they have children, they want their children to take over farms, but sadly a lot of them aren't taking over farms because it's becoming harder. Yeah. It's getting more expensive for them to farm, what happens then? You know, where does all our food go? To these big enterprises, and there's no farmers left, no small guys around. What happens to the children? Do they take off and go to the big cities to work? You know, like that's the thing. And you know what? And sometimes some of the farming children might not be interested at all farming, but at least if there's an opportunity for them and they want to stay and grow the food, then, you know, that's really important for our communities.
It is.
And if we can make it easier for them to do that,
yeah,
you know, stop being like the hurdles that they have to go through, and being price takers instead of, you know, price makers.
Yeah.
You know, if they can set the prices, then it makes it a lot financially viable for them.
It is. And it leads to that, the resilience for our community, our people, our farmers, our health, and our economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's having
a circular economy. It's economical. What we're doing right now is not sustainable, right? Let's talk about first grade, second grade, third grade. You know, it has to be pretty and shiny on the supermarket shelf. And then the second grade gets tossed to waste. And you're like, well, it costs this amount of money to actually produce this food. So again, the consumer is paying for that wastage. They are. They're, even though the farmer could get some more dollars for a second grade produce through me, for instance, that's added, you know, but if the farmer, if an enterprise is growing all this food and they can only sell the premium product and second grade has to be dumped, you know, unfortunately, the consumer does have to pay for that. Yeah, all of a sudden now the premium produce is going to cost twice as much because they had to dump a third of it.
Half of it. Yeah, or
right?
a third of it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's nearly a good third of the produce never leaves the farm.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a lot, you know.
That is a huge amount, and what it just completely goes to waste.
Well, look, some farmers can turn it into fertilizer, right? And some farmers, there might be so much that they do have to put it into landfill.
Wow.
You know, which is, it's huge emissions too, you know, like wasted.
Yeah, methane. It turns to methane when it's not composted properly. Wow. I think we covered a huge amount in this conversation, and I thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and experience in this space. I couldn't think of anyone better to really have this conversation around, you know, the challenges and the potential and the future and what is actually possible. I hope that this podcast or this episode gives people an opportunity for some self-reflection and maybe some empowerment to step into that role as a local food champion and maybe make a little bit of extra effort and let go of the convenience so that they can, well, I personally think it's very convenient to go on your website and just click and order and have something delivered. I think that's an incredible service. I also love coming in and seeing you and looking at all the amazing food here and picking up new things as well. So hopefully if you're listening to this, you've got some encouragement or inspiration
absolutely
to step into that and know that there is actually a solution. You know, it's to hear that some people didn't know that you existed here and you've been here for 6 years. It's, you know, you don't have all of the big branding that major supermarkets have. So it's that's a big competition. But I think word of mouth and just the amazing service and passion that you have behind Tablelands to Tabletop is really reaching.
I know. Look, and I'm still learning, you know, even though, again, I was born in this industry, I'm still learning every single day. And, you know, I am having conversations with numerous other people that completely disagree with me, you know. but the thing is, like, the way I just say it the way I see it, you know, and it is, it's just listening to our consumers and they want it done better. That's why we're open. That's why we're here. So we do have loads and loads of customers that come to us every single week. And, you know, if we can help.
And bring you bunches of flowers.
And bring me bunches of flowers. I know, it's lovely. And, you know, if we can help more people, if we can have more food champions in other areas, other towns, doing what I'm doing, I think we can do a massive, massive change. And again, I think the magic number is 20%.
All right. So are you going to be part of that 20%? We're like, we're disrupting the status quo here. Like, grab your pitchforks, farmers. There's good things coming.
Yeah, no. Yeah, thanks so much, Tennille, for this. It's good. And I love the opportunity to talk about these very, very, serious matters, because they are.
Yeah.
They are. And like I said, the sustainability of the current system isn't working. And we're going to see a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot more food disruption. We've already got shortages of eggs. There's going to be shortages of this and that. And, it's a disruption of our food network.
Yeah.
And we do have local eggs.
We do, yeah.
We do,
There are local solutions, and I think it is up to each and every one of us to be investing in that. And really, it's an investment that gives you food and nutrition every week. You might pay a couple of dollars more, but how good does it feel to know that you're supporting the local farmer and that they're going to continue being that person in your community and their future generations as well?
That's it. And the more customers that come into our doors, the more we can buy from our farmers, and that makes a huge difference.
Then they're less reliant on that. On that system, because the local demand is saying, "Hey, 100%. We need more."
Imagine if we can get majority of our smaller farmers selling to the local market rather than them being reliant on these big chains. It'd just be a huge shift for them, So that's
the outcome we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, I know that you've got lots of recipes on your website, Tablelands, tabletop.org or .com?
.com.au.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Easy one. Yep. And so jump on the website and check out how easy it is just to click on the boxes of food. You can actually, so there's the
FNQ direct box,
yep.
Right? So that's a seasonal box of produce that luckily Sustainable Table has come on board to help promote this box and get this off the ground and running. And what did I say we sold already? Was it like 300 or 400 boxes?
Yeah, something like that.
Which has been incredible. And we do, like I said, it is seasonal. You get one or two of everything. And it changes from time to time what comes in and what comes out, but it is a really nice selection, usually at least 15 different products in there. And then you also have the option of customizing your own box. So we have the website's wonderful. If you want 1 kilo of bananas, you select 1 kilo. If you'd want to put some honey into your box, you'll put some honey. If you'd like a whole box of bananas, we can do a whole box of bananas. So there's plenty of options. And again, the website, www.tablelands2tabletop.com.au. And we pretty well got everything nutted out on the website. Nearly every single product, prices, how to do it, delivery zones and everything, all that information.
Delivery days, it's all there.
Yeah.
Press on the tabs and you'll get the information you need. Yeah. And some lovely recipes. I guess let's just end this episode with, like what's in season right now that's like super yum and that you have a recipe for.
Oh, sweet corn. Oh my golly. I love sweet corn. So how our family does it is keep the husk on. You can, in fact, peel the husk back a little bit and wet it to get it moist if you like, and then put the husk back on, turn the barbecue on and throw it straight on the barbecue, and it just gives that smoky flavor. And then all we add, well, always butter. Put a lot of butter, salt and pepper, and happy days. And did you know you can eat sweet corn raw?
You can, yes.
So you don't even have to cook it, but I love it. Just a little bit cooked, warm, and let that butter melted all over the corn.
Sounds so good.
Yes.
All right, I'm going out into your shop and buying some right now. My mouth is watering.
Good idea.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Neil. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it now with someone you know will benefit from this information. And remember, we're not just talking about change, we are cultivating it. Through these conversations and through the Elder Tree Patreon community, together we are sowing the seeds for an education centre and healing sanctuary. You can unlock access to our treasure trove of wisdom via our Patreon, so you can do that in the show notes below or from our website. Please subscribe now and leave us a review. It really helps the bots share our podcast with the world, and your support ensures that this podcast and our vision can thrive. To grow them is to know them them is to use them is to love them, and then happily herbs become your way of life. May you be blessed with good health and many plants.